All right, you can start us off.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Emily, and I'm the Education Director here at Enrollee. You have probably seen my face on lots of different webinars around different Unruly things.
And I'm Ryan. I'm content creation and customer success, doing a lot more of these sort of implementation meetings, and I'm sure you'll be seeing a little bit more of me around as we do more of this App 2.0 work.
All right. So what's new with App 2.0? So there are four main things that are coming up new. The first biggest one is the Unruly Game Locker. And we call the Game Locker basically as our cloud. So this allows for you and your students to be able to open up any project anywhere. So as long as they have saved their project and synced it to the Game Locker, they can access that project from any device. So that means that if I make a project in computer science and then would like to go and play it in PE, it's super easy to do so. The second big change is that we have full school or full organization logins. So that means that you're going to log in with one username and one password across your entire organization. And that is what really gives you the power with the Game Locker. So that means that you can access really any of the projects from any of the profiles. And you can create as many user profiles as you would like. So that means unlimited teachers and unlimited students, just as before. Our Splat connection process has gotten a little bit easier. Ryan's going to show you that in the app tour. It is a little bit easier now to disconnect your physical splats, which is really cool. And we now have a full screen planning and testing space. So this became very much a priority as we shifted into this new remote learning space. You can actually plan out your splats just as if you had physical splats on a full screen and play on them just as if they were real physical splats. So that's another really great addition.
It lets you plan out your rules and everything ahead of time too, and save it with your project.
Yep. And I saw Ryan, you just posted in the chat. Thank you for reminding that. I will audibly say this as well. If you have any questions, make sure to post them into the chat, either to all attendees and panelists or just to panelists if you just like us to see.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to go over some slides now that are going to really highlight those four main things that I just went over. So the four big things that are new with version 2 of our app. This deck will be emailed to you after this webinar. It's also going to be posted on our portal soon. So you'll be able to access it there as well. But it just walks you and your students through step by step the whole process of creating profiles and accessing profiles. And then after we do this, we're going to go into the app and do it live with all of you.
Should be fun.
All right. So this is getting started with splats. Whenever you access the app, which is now at app.unrulysplats.com, you are going to enter in your username and password. You were emailed your organization's username and password before this webinar. If you had any issues accessing it, let us know in the chat, or feel free to email us as well. You will only need to enter in your username and password once per device, especially if you're regularly using it. But again, every teacher and student is going to use that username and password.
It's nice that they're all the same.
Yeah. So your profiles work just as they did in version 1 of the app. It's where all of your projects live. It's kind of like a folder in a way. You can make one for yourself, but you can also share one with a group. So that might mean that a student might have their own personal profile, and then they might have a group profile as well, especially if they're working in different groups. But most typically, you're going to be starting out your students with each of them making their own profiles. And so that's what this slide is walking students through. And to start, you're going to click on Create a Profile. It's on the bottom of the screen. And your profile names are all made randomly, so you cannot type in your own name. And this is intentional. So we have some schools that have they're being shared across lots of different devices and used in homes and all sorts of places. So this protects students' privacy. But students can still choose their own name. They're gonna click on that blue circle that's got the arrows on it, and they can cycle through and get any sort of different combination of their own unruly name. And so they can click on that button as many times as they like. And then once they got a name that they would like, they need to remember it and write down that name, and they're going to probably use that profile all year. So make sure that you remember it and put it in a place that you can remember. We have these colors that are underneath the Unruly name. Yeah, Ryan's pointing to them on the screen right now. So these colors are meant to organize students into classes, or you can use them in different ways if you like. But if you assign each student with a class color, it makes it a lot easier to find the profiles later. And it prompts you to do so on this slide right here. So it says select our class color, and you can insert whatever color that is. And then once students are ready, so they've chosen their name and they've chosen their class color, they're ready to move on to the next slide, which is, or move on to the next page, which is Let's Get Unruly. And then that will bring them directly onto the coding screen. But if they're accessing their profile a second time, so they're logging back into the app, they're going to see this screen. So they're going to see all the different profiles that are on that, that are in your account. And you can sort them based off of color, like I just mentioned before, or you can sort them alphabetically if that works best for your students. So they'll just look for their name in this window right here. And I do want to mention that we do have a tracker which is also linked in these slides. And that tracker allows for you to write down all the student profile names, again, because they're going to be keeping them for the whole year. But however you'd like to collect them, it's really up to you all how you'd like to use them with your students. But just making sure that you emphasize to students that they need to remember their profile name, super important. All right, so once you're into the app, whenever you're saving a project, it's still important that you save your project just as before in our app. So you're going to click on the save button to save all the blocks that are on your screen as a project. And you're going to enter in a name and a description. You'll notice that there's a few additional fields on here now. So you can specify the number of splats, the number of players for your particular game, and then you're going to hit save. If you hit the export blocks button, which Ryan's going to show us later on, it will download your project just as you could before. And I see some things in the chat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brad was talking about the student usernames. That is correct. All the usernames are that pre-generated format, and that keeps everyone with the same amount of information in the app and prevents the enter of personal information that might be damaging or otherwise not great to have stored in the app. So everyone's on the same playing field.
Yep. All right. We're going to be going over all of these different apps that are on this side panel right here, but you're going to access all of your projects in the Projects app. And if you go on to the next slide, Ryan. It's in this Projects app that you actually sync to the Game Locker. So you're saving your projects to the cloud. We're going to be going over all of this in a whole bunch of detail soon, but before you exit the app, just make sure that you have students sync their projects to the Game Locker by clicking on that yellow button. It will turn yellow if there are any projects that haven't been synced to the Game Locker. And then once they click on that yellow button, it will turn green, and all of the circles next to the projects will also be green. So if it has a green circle, it's in the cloud, it's in your Game Locker, you're good to go. If it's got a yellow circle, it has not been synced.
Yep, it's always a good process to double check that before you leave the app to make sure you sync to the Game Locker too.
All right, and so this is just showing we now have a completely synced, all of our projects are synced to the Game Locker. So we got all of our green circles, and our sync to Game Locker button is also green. And so at this point, this is a really great procedure just to make sure students are ready to go. And that makes sure it's not the end of the world if students end up not clicking on save to the Game Locker. It's still saved in the app, just like it was before, but they need to come back to that same device in order to access it. All right, and these are just some guiding slides for if you were to use this slide deck in your classroom. So just making some copies. And here are some additional ideas for tracking student profile names. So this is where you can find the template. You can have a Google form. You can go, if you're lucky enough to be with your students in person, you can use Post-its and manually enter them, have a student enter them. Another thing that I do want to name, especially for our educators that are working with younger ones, that you can be creative with how you share profiles. So it doesn't necessarily have to be one student to one profile. You could even make the profiles and assign student, like have students open them up. So you can get really creative with it, however works best for your students. And like I just said, of these slides, you might find that you don't need all this information. Your students might run right through it. But when we go through the tour next, you might notice that your students might need a little bit more support in certain areas. So make sure to add those in whenever you're rolling them out.
Sure. We can take a look at that customization spreadsheet too.
Yeah. All right, let's take a tour.
All right.
And again, I know I flew through that pretty quickly. If you've got any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, and it'll all be recorded.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the tour, let's pull up the template that we had for the Enrollee profile tracker, just as an idea of that, how to track those usernames. So in that situation, we have everyone making their own usernames. We have this tracker where you can keep track of the student name, the profile name that they picked, the color of the class, and a little bit more tracking information if you so choose. And this is also available as a direct link from that spreadsheet or from the slide deck. All right. So when you head to app.unrealeesplats.com, which is slightly different from the old URL, you are greeted with this login page. This login page is where you'll enter your whole school login. That's the one login that's associated with your account. And that's where all of the profiles will live. No matter how many classes there are, how many students you end up with, they'll all end up in that username. For our demonstration, we have one set up, which is a super folly password.
Pumpkin turkey.
So sometimes it can take a second if you have lots and lots of profiles like we have in this demo. This is a good demonstration of what different classes might look like. If you have 3 or 4 different classes, each one might have its own class color. You can sort them by when they were recently created, what color, if you're looking for a specific class color, or alphabetical if you're just looking for a certain name. Let's go ahead and make a new profile. So you can go through here and try a couple until you find one that you really like. I'm going to go with Coral Piranha. So using these buttons right here, we can pick a class color. These always are better than I think they should be. Like we always find ones that we like even after making hundreds of these things. So let's go with green and then let's get some Enrollee. This will drop you right into the home screen of the app, which should look pretty familiar if you've ever used the app 1.0. You'll notice our programming area has gotten a lot bigger and the app overall has a much refreshed look to it. On the left-hand side, we have what we're calling the control center. This is where you'll connect, monitor, and disconnect your physical splats and see their status as your program is running. So just like in app 1.0, these will function as buttons when you want to try and control your app, and they'll also be where you connect and disconnect. Just as before, we have our stopwatch and the stopwatch reset, the ID button, which will light up the splats to tell you what color they are, or which splat number they are, that is. The run button, which will start your program, and then splats 1 through 6. When you're ready to try and connect your physical splats, you click on these toggle buttons here. It'll open the process window to connect via Bluetooth, and you connect them one at a time, just like you would have in app 1.0. The nice thing is you can disconnect them individually and ID them all right here. In this section right here, we have the same block tray that we've had before. Each one of these has a different kind of block, which is used any number of ways in your projects. The one difference is that we've split off the music-based blocks from the sounds block tray into a new music block type. These function the same way, and you might occasionally, if you load an old project, you'll notice that there's still the sound color, but they'll still function. It's just nice to have them separated out because they work just a little bit differently than the sound blocks do. And the rest of these are the same. Yes.
Can I interrupt you with a question?
Sure.
So how would you load an old project?
We're going to load an old project using our projects app over here on the side in the import a project button.
Okay, so if I had saved a project on the old version of the app, I can still import it.
Correct. So the new app does make a new file type, but app 2.0 will take the old .txt files from your first app 1.0 projects. So if you have those sitting around, you can save them and import them into app 2.0, sync them to the game locker, and then they'll be up in the cloud and you can use them whenever you want.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's also great for us. We also have all of our examples and everything saved in text files. So this is great that it's backwards compatible. Like I was saying, all of these are the same blocks as you saw before, including functions, variables, everything else. So this works just like you think it should. So in the top right-hand corner, we have our app tray, which is where all of the different apps are stored. The save button is where you'll save and set up your new project for the first time. And then this is the virtual splats app, which we will get to in a minute. Down in the bottom right, you'll see that there's a trash can, zoom, and target. Also in the bottom right, you will see the name of your project when you save it. So let's try that quick. So if I want to just light a splat when splat is pressed, and we call this light splat, only really needs one splat, only really needs one player, give it a good description of light splat, and then save. So you'll notice that once we've saved our project, the title of that project is in the bottom right-hand corner. This is a good indicator to remind students that if they don't see their project name in the bottom right-hand corner of the programming area, that means they maybe haven't saved their project yet. Here, all of this information is saved. If you choose to export the blocks, at the moment, it'll just export the blocks, so you can take those blocks and bring them to another project, just like you might have in 1.0. You can try that now. You'll see it makes a .txt file. And yep, this is all saved. Always double check and make sure it's saved. Now that we have a project saved, we can check out the projects app in a second. Here in the app tray, we have all of the same things that we had in app 1.0 plus a few new features. So we have our settings app, which is where you control the volume, and the Unrollee privacy policy is stored there. Also in the future, there might be some debugging things that are in here if you're having some issues, but for the moment, it's just splats volume. The profiles app is where you will see all of the profile stats for every profile. And you can also switch profiles. So if a student has their project saved in their profile, you can come over to your device, click switch profiles, and switch directly to their profile. This is a very useful change where if you have projects that a student has made and you're in PE or you're in front of the class and you want to show something off, you can switch directly to their profile, load the project that they were talking about without having to change devices or even communicate anything about the thing that they want you to show. That's the Profiles app. The Projects app will probably do last because that's a little bit more involved. Here are examples and projects. A lot of these are in 1.0. We've added a few new ones. They're able to be sorted by activity type, number of splats, number of players, and the coding complexity level. This is a great resource if you used any of them in 1.0. They're great ways to get started with the app, play around without having to get too deep into the coding part, and occasionally just play a fun game. The tutorials are a little updated, where now it's in a floating window. You can move it out of the way and do the tutorial without having to switch back and forth or have anything too troublesome to work around. And the tutorial is a great place to start. The recordings feature is coming soon. So if you used iOS app as in 1.0, you could record your own sounds. This feature wasn't in the web app before, and it's coming very soon to our 2.0 app, which will enable you to record your own sounds and have some cool parts of your game when you want them. This is a really great code of conduct. It's for some reason deciding not to show. Yeah, there we go. This is a great little document to read, both for yourself and for your students. It outlines just how to use splats in a responsible and fun way, and how to really go about using this app. We try hard to make sure that there aren't too many places that you can go too far outside of that code of conduct, but it's
a
always
great
good
place if you're setting expectations in the classroom. You're like, I don't know where to start. Take a look.
Yeah.
We also got a question, Ryan, while we're on a pause, about the web app with Chromebooks. Yeah, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, so Chromebooks, we definitely have Chromebooks in mind through every step of developing this app. There are certain Chromebooks, especially older ones, which might have some Bluetooth compatibility issues, which is a thing that's handled kind of case by case. But for the vast majority of Chromebooks and other devices, this works very well, and everything is made to scale with that in mind. So Chromebooks are kind of the first device that we think of when we think of the web app.
You can use, just follow-up note, you can use this app on any device in the Chrome browser without physical splats connected. So as long as you don't have physical splats connected, you can use it on Windows. It also, the Bluetooth on Macs is usually pretty great, so you can do it on Macs as well. But it will work on any device in Chrome without Bluetooth. But
Absolutely.
your Chromebooks should be good to go.
I think there are some issues with like an iPad, right? An iPad with the web app may not connect Bluetooth.
Apple's strange like that. That's why
Yeah,
we're bringing in a new iPad app for you.
absolutely. It was both the Bluetooth and I think the way that projects are saved as .txt files or saved as files at all is also a problem in iOS. So the iOS app is its own slightly tweaked thing, but should be just as featured and have all the great stuff it always has. We left off, we hadn't talked about the projects and hadn't talked about the virtual splats. Let's talk about the projects quick because that's somewhat similar to App 1.0, but with a lot of new features. So we went into My Projects and we now see our one project that we created. It's called Light Splat. Because we created the project and saved it, it showed up in the My Projects app, but it hasn't been synced to the Game Locker, so it shows up as yellow. When you sync all of your projects to the Game Locker, both the button and the dot next to the project will go green. So if you make any changes to your projects and you need to resave them, you will see that the projects in the My Projects app go yellow and you need to sync to Game Locker again. Just to reiterate, when you save, you're saving to your own computer, you're saving locally. When you sync to Game Locker, that's where you're uploading to the cloud so that you can get your project on any device. And it's just like that. Again, on your way out, when you're exiting the app, it's always great to hop into the My Project folder and make sure that that Sync to Game Locker button is green. This will work when you have a bunch of different projects, and you can always see if one of them you maybe modified and didn't sync. This is also where you'll import a project. We can take a look at what that looks like right now. In the same process that it's always been, you grab your .txt file. I think I have fitness circuit queued up here. And it just drops in the blocks for your project. We can get rid of the ones in the first one, and now we have fitness splats all queued up and ready to go. Can even call this fitness splats. I think this needs 2 splats and at least 1 player, so 1 or more, and then fitness.
Fit splat.
If you go to My Projects folder, you'll now see a fitness splats. Because we imported it, saved it, it shows up in the My Projects app. Because we haven't synced it yet, it is yellow and needs to be synced. And it's that easy. All right, so we've talked about how to use the app like you've always used the app, pulling blocks out of the block tray, how to import and export blocks so that you can take in old projects you might have had and share your projects that you're making now. Let's talk about the Virtual Splats app. So this is new for App 2.0. The Virtual Splats app is the new way to use the splats in a virtual environment. When you click the Virtual Splats app, it brings up this whole separate window in which you will find a series of splats that you can drag around the window and will behave just like the physical splats would if they were connected to the device. In the top left, we have our run button if we want to start the program. That's where we would start the program. This is a pause button to help not trigger the program when you're dragging your splats around. And the same stuff as out in the command center. You can reset your stopwatch and see how it's going, see the scores for all the splats, and drag them around to put them where you want to put them. We're running fitness circuit right now, so we can go down to 2 splats, and that'll be good. Because we're running fitness circuit, let's change the background. I don't think we want to do a solid color. Let's go with an image. Probably. Yeah, let's go with the basketball court. So because we're doing fitness splats, stick with a basketball court. The splats are a little bit big, so let's drag this slider here to make them smaller, so they're a little bit closer to the scale they might be in a real gym. And so we know that these are fitness splats. We can use notes. So this is a new feature for App 2.0. These notes, you pull them out of the note tray. You can customize your note, and that will stay there as part of the data for your project and will get synced to the game locker when you sync it to the game locker. So when you save your project and sync it to the game locker, all of this information is saved there too. So debugging, rules for your games, maybe alterations you want to make to your games, scores even, can all be stored with these notes. And you can hide them while you're playing the game so they don't get in the way. The bottom right-hand corner, you have a trash can, so you can pull splats or pull notes and get rid of them. And then the very bottom, we have these great stickers. So if you want to have a diagram of how to use the app that you're working on, you can pull out a bunch of these stickers, close the tray, move the stickers around, and then even click the stickers to rotate them so that you know that you need to run. And again, all of this is saved when you sync your game to the game locker. So if you want to make a very descriptive set of rules with the diagrams laid out and how you're supposed to play the game, this is how you can do it, and it will save and can be loaded by anyone, and it's all saved to the cloud. So let's maybe do that. So let's make sure that we save here in our save button, and then sync the game locker in our fitness splats project. So that's the virtual splats app. It lets you run and play the game just like you would with the physical splats, and is like a really expanded feature set for App 2.0 in that hybrid and virtual environment. And I feel like that's most of the major points for 2.0. The other one is the switching profiles. If you want to take that on, Emily, we can switch a profile back and forth and send a game around.
Sounds good. Do you want me to just open up, what profile are you in right now? I can open one up and share my screen.
Yeah, I'm in Coral Piranha.
Coral Piranha.
Yeah, if you want to start up, maybe make a new profile and then switch to this one.
All right.
I will hand the share over to you.
Sounds good. All right. All right. So we are now seeing the web app on my computer. I'm going to be logging into the same account. This is an example of what it looks like once you've already logged in. So it's just saying, welcome back, Unrollee teacher, and I'm just going to click sign in. And you get that fabulous splat sound.
I think I must have had it muted.
All right, so I'll create a new profile too. Ooh, gold mink is already pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Charcoal one. Marigold seal, I think. Oh, blue-green sawfish. Spinach flamingo, 100%. That's what I'm going with. All right, so I'm going to be spinach flamingo, and I'm going to leave my color as green. I'm going to click Let's Get Unruly. All right, and I'm going to create a really quick project and maybe save it as well. So we'll light up a random color. And when we release this splat, we're going to, oh, by the way, to bring up that menu to duplicate blocks, if you're on a computer, you're going to right click or two-finger click on my computer, and it's going to bring up this menu, and I just click duplicate. If you're on iOS, that's a long press. That was the same in our old app as well.
That's great.
All right, so whenever it's released, I want to make a goofy sound. So let's drag out a sound. And when in doubt, we're going to go with the cat. So whenever I press on my splat, it's going to light up random. And when I release, it's going to meow. And that should work just the same on my virtual splats app as well. Oh, and now let's bring up the appropriate background.
There's only one background for this.
There we go. All right, so I'm gonna save my project. And this is going to be, the name of that goofy cat in the background is Blooper, by the way. So we're gonna name this Bloopers program.
It's the first time I've ever heard that.
The more you know. All right, and I think it can be played with more than one players, and I'm gonna hit save. We'll need to come up with rules for this later.
Yep,
All
and the
right, so-
title showed up in the bottom right, so you know it's saved.
Yep, no, it's saved. And I'm gonna go into my projects. I'm gonna hit sync to my game locker. All right, Bloopers program is synced. Now, when I go underneath my profile, I save that under Spinach Flamingo. So Ryan, do you want to try pulling up Spinach Flamingo and see if you can open up Bloopers program?
I sure can.
Here, and I will stop sharing so you can show that process.
Yes, let me get it pulled up here. So we're back to Core Prana, where I started and loaded fitness splats. Come into the app tray, click the Profiles app, click Switch Profiles, and we'll see because we sort by recent created, Spinach Flamingo is right at the top. You might have to refresh profiles like I just did to see the changes if somebody made a profile very recently. All we have to do is click that. And this might take a second. Went pretty fast that time. And pulled up the new profile. And we're in a new profile, so we should have Bloopers program. And I can load this. And then, of course, we have to try it in the virtual splats app. So yeah, it saved everything, saved the background, saved the fact that the score doesn't move, and it works just like a big physical splat you pull around. Okay, that worked very well.
All right.
So I think that's the profile switch. I think we went through all the high points. Is there anything else you wanted to grab before we kind of pause for a second and maybe answer some questions?
If you could just pull up maybe one or two examples, show what that looks like. I think that could be a nice thing to check.
Yeah, so I'm just going to clear this out super fast, and let's go look at some examples. Because we don't have to type anything in, I'm going to go with Rainbow Keyboard because I like that one. As you see, it pulled in all of the blocks that you need to run the Rainbow Keyboard, which is one of the most Bluetooth intensive programs we've made so far, as we found out. Let's give it a run here in our program area just to make sure it's working like we want it to. So you'll notice that the lights in the command center are a little different than the lights of the virtual splats app. That's so you can clearly identify which LEDs are lit up. If you're using the light LED block, you can really tell which LED is being lit up rather than having it kind of blurry. So it looks like it's running just fine. We can go over to the virtual splats app. And it's obviously still the cat, but let's pull up the rest of the splats we need to make this run right. And maybe this is, I'm going to go with stars. So we can go a little bit bigger. If we wanted to add like a song that we're working on, we could be typing in here. And yeah.
So this program cycles a rainbow continuously. And then when you press and release on each splat, it plays one note.
And the interesting thing is that this works exactly the same way when you have physical splats connected. So if you have 6 physical splats connected, they'll be behaving the exact same way. And when you click in the virtual splats app, the physical splat will make the noise rather than your device. So this is probably going to be some fun games that we can work with the virtual splats app plus physical splats, and that interaction might be a lot of fun.
Yeah. We also know that many of you are remote, so a lot of your interactions with splats might only be with students at home on their Chromebooks. So That's really great too.
Yeah, this looks very cool.
And this one's a good one to show off pause splat presses.
Yep, so now I can move these around without continually hammering piano keys over and over again until I get them where I want to get them, which stops the program, and then uncheck and run again. And it starts everything over again.
Very nice.
Very cool. Okay. We want to
back into our slides and finish her up.
All right, where were we? Let's close that out and switch on over. You can take this one.
All right. So next thing for you to do, especially if you're just getting started with splats, is to head on over to our portal to download resources. We're regularly uploading resources there. We also, just when we're talking about uploading new resources, we will be updating the examples that are in the app quite frequently as well. So make sure to check out the examples. You might see some new ones pop in there every once in a while. But make sure to head to the portal. You can click the login button that's in the upper right-hand corner of our website, which is unrullysplats.com, or you can also just head straight to unrullysplats.com/login. We'll go to the next slide. This is it. If you've got any questions for us, let us know.
Absolutely. You can email either of us any little questions. We know that a new app can sometimes have new questions, new issues, new things to think about. So we're expecting anything. Just send us an email.
Awesome. We will be sticking around for the next few minutes. If you've got any lingering questions that you'd like us to answer now, please let us know in the chat. But seriously, no question is a silly question. So if anything comes up as you're exploring, you did have your usernames and logins sent to you. So once you get in there and fool around, you might find some things you got questions about. So let us know.